It actually boggles my mind how the Dangers in My Heart anime is not talked about enough. You've got this masterpiece rom-com anime and you barely hear any conversations about it. It's an actual masterpiece, and I'm not being hyperbolic. When I first started this rom-com, I thought it was going to be difficult to get through because sometimes I have trouble getting past through slice of life rom-coms, but not only was it easy to get through this anime, the episodes of The Dangers in My Heart made me feel a lot of emotions that made me really appreciate this story. But before you go further into the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I talk all things manga and anime, and without further ado, let's get back into the video. The Dangers in My Heart puts all other romance anime to shame due to how it develops its main couple, Yamada and Ichikawa, in the most poignant way possible. It hits all the emotional notes, gradually pacing their growing affection in a succinct fashion. But the problem most people encounter when getting into the story is how Ichikawa's, our main lead's character, was portrayed, because he acts like he's a creep serial killer that wants to murder the girl he likes in the first scene of the first episode, and people who just clicked off of the show based on only this just thought that this show is a cringe, super weird and questionable show and just wrote it off. And I feel like that is a tragedy, because we have a masterpiece romance show and it's not getting the limelight it deserves. We have a lot of mid rom-coms that are getting the shine more than The Dangers in My Heart, and I find that to be very sad. As I said before, the reason this story is great is because how these two characters, Yamada and Ichikawa, come together in the most emotional and enjoyable way. Sometimes romance anime can be too reliant on conflict or miscommunication to bring the plot forward, but this show doesn't do that. Instead, we watch an innocent progression of the characters and the developing feelings from them. It feels so organic and it's very fun to follow, because the other side characters in this show, such as Yamada's group of friends and all the other teenagers in this show, feel like real life teenagers. They mess about, nothing is too serious, and it's just pure funny, wholesome vibes that you get from this show. One trope that people hate in rom-com is when the two characters who love each other don't confess to each other, and it gets into this will they, won't they trope, and The Dangers in My Heart is one of those rare shows that does this trope right. You've got Ichikawa, who is so awkward in his mannerisms and sort of a social outcast, but he's a good person deep inside, and Yamada sees this in him, which triggers her to have an affection for him, and through their different interactions she tries to bring him out of his fragile state, and it's this journey that is amazing to follow. The reason they don't get to be together normally was because of Ichikawa cares a lot about what other people think about him, that he even refuses to be close to her in public, even if they spend a lot of time together in private. It's the mental state that he is in that delays them from being together, and this journey of him slowly getting out of this state of his is what makes this a really beautiful story. Also, Yamada is a really good character. She doesn't have the same level of character development as Ichikawa, but she still shines brightly in this show. I like that she's not your perfect archetypical love interest. She is messy, she talks with a mouthful of food and loves to eat a lot. She gets snot on Ichikawa sometimes when she cries on him, and she has a quirky personality that makes her very endearing, and the fact that she's a model accentuates her goofy personality. She wasn't interested in any boys at the beginning of the story, but the more they run into each other in the library, because that's the same place she uses to eat her snacks, and it's the same place where Ichikawa uses to read his murder books. But before I go any further, let me clarify. Ichikawa is not reading these books because he has an actual interest in killing people. It's actually because he uses it as a coping mechanism to not get hurt. He is a kind, caring and observant person, and the anime makes that obvious, but it went over some people's heads, I guess, when watching the first episode, and it is this side of his that Yamada saw that no one was seeing that made her gravitate to him. But even if she gravitates to him, he is still an immature and insecure kid. He doesn't doesn't believe a girl as cute as Yamada would ever fall for him. He overthinks all the time that the signs and hints that she drops is nothing more than her being nice or her having an ulterior motive, such as in episode 9 when the popular pickup artist kid who also likes Yamada was trying to make another move, and at this point in the story Yamada already has feelings for Ichikawa, so when he was about to enter the room, Yamada grabs Ichikawa and hugs him to make the pickup artist dude leave. In this moment Yamada used Ichikawa to make the popular kid go. It wasn't an action that had any malicious intent behind it, but Ichikawa overthinks this to the point he starts questioning all their interactions so far, so he starts avoiding her for days and she is bothered and is deeply hurt by it, and she finally approaches him and asks him why he is being like this. Ichikawa is still in his avoidant state and moves away from her until she starts crying, and he realizes the mistake he has done and realizes Yamada is not that sort of bad person he made her out to be, and he hugs and apologizes. And damn, that moment was very emotional. It's like the most emotional I've been watching a rom-com, and it's not like we just move on from this moment. Every event in this story is important, and we see that in season 2 when Ichikawa visits Yamada's home for the first time and she opens up about how her parents used to treat her to her favorite meal each time after she fails in an activity, and that she fears being hated. So when Ichikawa was ignoring her back then, she thought she was being hated and whatnot. When she starts crying and Ichikawa hugs her out of nowhere, damn, they hit me in the feels again, and she gets snot on him, which adds to the realism of the show, which is a slight touch I appreciate. Also, I like how they meet each other's parents and we see the whole interaction. I love the way Ichikawa's sister sees him on a video call with Yamada and worries he's trying to be with someone who is out of his league, and the way it unfolds, his sister knowing that Yamada's and Ichikawa's relationship might actually work and all the scenes related to that made for some hilarious moments. Also, I like the pickup artist popular kid, the way he was relentless in pursuing Yamada even though he knew Yamada liked Ichikawa, made for some of the best scenes in the show, like Ichikawa's first great moment when pickup artist dude was trying to get Yamada's phone number even though Yamada clearly didn't want to give her a number and was avoiding doing that by making ridiculous lies, and when she was finally about to do it, our boy Ichikawa saves the day by throwing his bike and creating a ruckus. This might have been the first deed that made Yamada notice Ichikawa, and this is why I love this story. Yamada doesn't fall for Ichikawa just for the sake of it, unlike some other rom-coms. Ichikawa earns it step by step by showing her how much of a great person he is. He gets out of his comfort zone multiple times in the story for her sake, and when I say this, he may come off as a bit of a simp, but he doesn't entirely do this to get her attention. He does this because there is good in him. He does good deeds even if they are out of his comfort zone, and that makes him a very admirable person. And he still has ways to go in order to come out of his low self-esteem, awkward personality of his, and that is through the help of Yamada. Each episode she is slowly helping him out of his immature and insecure state, and again, I really love this and how this show masterfully executes it. This show takes its time to develop Ichikawa and it is not rushed at all. Ichikawa might just be one of the best rom-com protagonists because he has one of the best growth journeys, and this rom-com show is filled to the brim with amazing character writing from top to bottom. You can see how well the author of this story crafted the characters and the deep understanding they have of human psychology. Not only does Ichikawa gets tested, but Yamada as well. In season 2 of this show, it's apparent that both Yamada and Ichikawa like each other, but the way the story makes us really appreciate their love for each other is by testing it. And one of my favorite moments of this was when the pickup artist kid finally goes all out and confesses to Yamada that he likes her. He used all the tricks in the book but could never make Yamada falter, and what a great moment that was. This show is filled with so many well-written moments that it actually is one of the best rom-coms out there. And if you haven't watched it yet, you must, and you won't regret it, I promise. If you've made it this far into the video, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. It will mean a lot. And with that said, see you in the next one.